It's about 6:40 on November 27th, 2015. We're starting the public hearing at the town of Alstead, New Hampshire Town Hall for the New Hampshire Sludge Site Permit application submitted by New England Waste Services of Maine Incorporated, doing business as Casella Organics for the Thomas Pratt Fields on Pratt Road in Alstead. My name is Judy Sears Houston. I'm an engineer with the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services Wastewater Engineering Bureau. Welcome to this public hearing. I will be serving as the hearing officer for this meeting. The hearing is being recorded by audio digital recorder, and I know somebody over here is also recording it for the internet. With me is Mike Green, also from the department. He's the administrator of the residuals management section. The permit applicant for the sludge site permit application we're discussing tonight is Casella Organics, Anthony Droin, project manager for Casella. We're making a presentation and answering any questions on this proposed biosolids management activity. I will read a short introduction and then turn the floor over to Casella for their presentation. Casella Organics has filed the sludge site permit application with the department for the land spreading of biosolids on 3 agricultural fields located on Pratt Road, tax map 40, lot 9. Specific information on each field will be described by Anthony when he does his presentation. This public hearing has been coordinated pursuant to the New Hampshire Administrative Rules, section ENVWQ 80404, in order to provide the applicant an opportunity to present information to the public about the permit application and for the public to ask questions and comment on the application information. The department placed a notice for this hearing in the Friday, September 25th and Sunday, September 29th, 2015 editions of the Keene Sentinel newspaper. Casella has 3 copies of the permit application available up here for review by the public during this meeting. Please return these copies to Anthony before you leave. Please hold your questions and comments until the end of his presentation. I'll open the hearing up for public involvement after his presentation to give you a chance to ask any questions that you would like answered. But after the presentation, please. You may use the handout that we have in the back of the room here if you haven't got a copy. And the note paper provided, you can jot down any questions or comments so you don't forget, and then bring them up at the end. So after his presentation, Anthony will turn the floor back over to me, and then I will open up the floor for public questions specific just to this permit application, please. Raise your hand if you don't mind and direct your question to me. If it's related to the rules, Mike or I will try to answer your question as fully as we can. If it's specific to the proposed activities on Pratt Road, I'll look to Anthony to try and answer that question for you. Each time you're called on to speak, please state your name and your address, just because of the recording, just for the file. And if you can, try to refrain from repeating the same question that might have been asked earlier, just so we can all make a good night of it here. Please be aware that the hearing is not for voicing your general comments about the use of sludge management activities in general. We'd like to keep it completely relative to this particular application if possible. The rules controlling the processing of this application mandate that the department issue the permit if the application meets all requirements of the rules. Also, this form is not for airing grievances against the applicant, the town, or the state on matters not directly related to this presented permit application. We ask that the hearing remain polite and civil at all times. The department will accept additional written comments and questions from the public for a period of 15 calendar days after the meeting today, which will be November 11th, 2015. All questions and comments need to be addressed to me at DES, Wastewater Engineering Bureau, P.O. Box 95 in Concord. Please feel free to take one of my business cards that I have to up here or in the back. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Anthony. Thank you.
Like Judy said, I'm Anthony Droin with Casella Organics. I'm the project manager for our Class B land application programs. We were here in July for a Conservation Commission meeting. For those who were at the meeting, this presentation may look a little similar, actually very similar to what we had then. This is, again, solely on our management plan and some parts of the rules that we follow in educating about our program. So first, a little outline. We're going to talk about who we are, Casella Organics. We're going to talk about why we're here. What are the biosolids proposed and where are they sourced? What is the Pratt Britain site? The land application standards within the state of New Hampshire. Our management plan. And last, our goals and conclusions for this project. So who are we? We're a business unit of Casella Resource Solutions. We're headquarters in Portland, Maine. We provide management services to municipal and industrial residual generators across the Northeast. We focus on beneficial use and recycling of organic and mineral residuals. We've been in business since 1983, and we operate throughout New England and the Mid-Atlantic. So why are we here? We're here to talk about how we're going to enrich the soil and increase crop yield for the fields of Pratt Road. We're also going to explain our management plan for the beneficial use of biosolids as a crop fertilizer. We're also here to work with DES to obtain our site permit for land application of biosolids. To demonstrate to you, the community, how our management plan follows the regulations set forth in the New Hampshire DES EMD WQ 800. Those are the rules that we follow. And lastly, to inform the community about the value of this fertilizer and how we intend to beneficially utilize it. So how are biosolids used as fertilizer? Biosolids are organic solids removed from wastewater, further treated at the wastewater treatment facility. Biosolids are treated at the wastewater treatment facility to meet health and safety standards set by New Hampshire DES and the US EPA. Any biosolids suitable for land application in the state of New Hampshire must meet the regulations of EMD WQ 800, and as well must hold a sludge quality certificate that is administered by New Hampshire DES. That involves bi-monthly analytical testing and annual reporting that is conducted by the generator to DES. So Nashua has a SQC number 9908. That is their permit certificate to be able to have that material land applied as a fertilizer. National biosolids have been land applied in the state of New Hampshire for over 10 years through this certification. At the plant, for stabilization to get this material to land application standards, it undergoes aerobic and anaerobic digestion. There's aerobic microorganism pre-treatment before the anaerobic digester. And then as well, you have the anaerobic digester, which is the action of microorganisms to degrade an organic matter in the absence of oxygen. Kind of like a large pressure cooker. And I'll show you a picture shortly. And all the oxygen is extracted out, and it's slowly cooked for 20 days, killing the pathogens and stabilizing the material. Again, like I just said, this is an egg-shaped digester, 20 days, approximate mean temp 50 C, approximately 122 degrees F. So this is a picture of the facility, specifically in Nashua. This is your large anaerobic digester on site, your secondary treatment, your primary treatment. This is a cogen engine where they actually take the methane gas from the anaerobic digestion, cogen make electricity and power part of the plant. This is the analytical testing lab within the facility where they're constantly monitoring the material and reporting that as well. So what is the Pratt Britain site? This is located on Pratt and Homestead Road, just like we were saying on tax map 40, lot 9. It's owned by Thomas Pratt. Right now the farmer is Larry Britton of Walpole, New Hampshire, Britton Farms. He's a dairy farmer over there milking about 90 cows. He rents the land and he's growing corn silage on there currently. Again, Larry Britton is your farmer, owned by Thomas Pratt. All the crops grown on this site are for livestock feed for his dairy cows. This is not a human consumption vegetable farm. and strictly, like you said, corn silage is what he intends to grow. So this site, it was recently clear cutted and has had very little amendment or nutrients put into the soil. As for liming agents, to nitrogen fertilizers, phosphorus fertilizers, it's a very bare soil. It's having a hard time growing the crops right now. Larry approached me as I go around and prospect with farmers and sites. He approached me about this site. He said, I really want to work this piece of land, but I can't afford to bring my manure down to the site, and I can't afford commercial fertilizer. What can you do to help me? And that's where we come in with this program. We're able to supply the farmer, do the work for him on site, meaning spreading and incorporating, and get that field ready for planting for him to put seed down. This site is specifically 18.6 spreadable acres with the setbacks that are established within the rules and regulations that we follow. So as for our management plan, you'll see a site map here shortly, so this field 1 and 2 will make sense. The material will be trucked in to each field's stockpile locations, where we will then hold the material there until we're ready to land apply. We will have our subcontracted spreading team, Morning Field Farm LLC, out of Harvard, Massachusetts, come up here and do all the work for Larry. So biosolids will be land applied using conventional manure spreading equipment, PTO driven. It is being towed behind a farm tractor, operated again by our subcontracted spreading team. There will be no landowner involvement with this project. Again, as our material and these programs are regulated by DES, our application rates are also regulated and set by the UNH Cooperative Extension's BMP. This BMP was specifically developed on and for land application of biosolids. So per the rules of 800 rules, we have to strictly follow these BMPs that they set for us. So the crops definitely need nutrients. If you go out to this field today, you can actually see some of the store that's left on the ground, and it's this tall. That's supposed to be silage. It's supposed to be this tall. Didn't have enough food, didn't have enough anything to grow. So what we do is we do soil sampling to determine what is the crop need for nutrients. We have that done by a certified agronomist at Spectrum Analytic in Ohio. We also look at the biosolid mineralization rates as for nutrient availability from the material that will be land applied. And that is organic nitrogen that is slowly released throughout the growing season. This isn't like a commercial fertilizer where it's completely available right at application. This is something that's going to be broken down throughout the year and the years to come. What we're doing is we're building soil tilt. We're building the quality of the soil. Therefore, we're going to be having a decreased application rate season to season as that nitrogen is still mineralizing from the first application. To give you an idea, these are the setbacks that we have to follow. I know it might be kind of hard to read. Within here, I can give you this right here. And you can see our rules and regulations that we follow. So these setbacks here you have for land application, rivers protected under RSA 483, 250 feet. Property lines is 100 feet. We also have 25 feet from public roads. On-site occupied dwellings is 100 feet. Since this is going to be incorporated within 48 hours because it's for corn silage, we have 200 feet from off-site dwellings. We also have a 300-foot setback from private drinking water wells. Within the next maps coming up, you will see these setbacks and where they are placed within the field. So this is kind of a locus map of where we're talking about. Here you have the intersection of 12A and 123. This is Pratt Road site, kind of in the middle of a little wooded area. Again, this is our topography map. You can kind of see how it's a pretty flat area right here. We have a slight decrease in slope there, about 8%, still within the rules. You can kind of see the buffer zones already around the site itself. And here we get into the site. We have Pratt 1, we have Pratt 2, and Pratt 3. These are our two stockpile locations. We will have the material trucked in off Pratt Road following this access road in the site, and this material will be dropped at the high level spots of the field. You can see here, this is our legend. Here's all our setbacks to all the dwellings around us. We also have a 100-foot property line buffer here, and we also have a drainage ditch of 33 feet right here. And you can see that the fields are outside of that buffer zone. On top of here, you have your total acres and spreadable acres. Again, these fields really fit well within our setbacks that we have to follow, so we don't really lose too much acreage at this site. A little closer up, this is actually the site-specific soil survey map that we conducted on site. These are all soil bores that we go down 40 inches, and we go down 48 inches at the stockpile locations. We're looking for estimated seasonal high water table, restrictive layer, and bedrock. To make sure that we're following within the 2-foot to 3-foot setback that we have to adhere to with the rules. Again, you can also see closer how these buffers fit. This white line, this is a 500-foot setback for the stockpile, not for land application. So when you see that come right to the edge, that's just your off-site dwelling for where these materials sit. So we're well beyond that. Just a little example, and this is in the application itself, of our specific site soil survey. You can see here this is soil bore and soil bore 7 and soil bore 8, which was for the stockpile location. That's why we go to 48 inches there and 40 inches there. Here's your estimated seasonal high water table, which essentially is the highest point in which the water fluctuates during the wet season. And then it resides down. So we're looking for those features in the soil that tell us where that water table goes. We take color down, we look at the texture of the soil, the structure of the soil, and how strong is it. The most important numbers we're looking at here, though, is where is the bedrock, where is there a hard pan, and where does the water table come up to. So within our management plan, we're going to talk about odor control, because everybody wants to know about odor. So, per the regulations 80609A, stockpiles that exist on site for more than 7 days must be covered in an odor-reducing agent like lime or wood ash. Using lime or wood ash on the stockpile helps keep volatile compounds from releasing from the pile to the ambient air surrounding it. Wood ash can kind of act like a carbon filter, if you want to think, charcoal filter. So what we do is we coat the pile with that, and that pretty much will inhibit most of all odors from being out in the air. You don't see that with carbon odor. When people stack carbon around the field, they're not covering it with wood ash. We're going above and beyond with these rules. As well, the material coming from Nashua is a very low odor material. I had a lot of land abutters from places that we apply tell me that they didn't even know we were applying that day. So that's one thing that we have going for us with this specific biosol that we're going to manage on site. So with our land application standards, some of the rules that we follow, no biosolids shall be applied on frozen or snow-covered ground or when the ground is saturated due to precipitation or flooding. No biosolids shall be applied to agricultural land that has a slope greater than 15%, which is a 15-foot rise over 100 feet. Biosolids spread on agricultural land that has a slope greater than 8% shall contain a minimum of 15% solids or to be subsurface injected. Nashua usually ranges about 25% solids, so we don't have to worry about the 8% solid. Biosolids shall be spread in an even layer so as not to result in ponding or runoff of material. Biosolids that have been land applied shall be processed to minimize visible or identifiable plastics or other non-biodegradable solids. The preliminary catchment system at Nashua is excellent, and you do not see any of this material in the material itself. Biosolids shall not be applied to very poorly drained soils. Biosolids shall not be applied on floodway defined as a stream channel plus the portion of the overbanks that must be kept free from encroachment in order to discharge the 1% annual chance of flooding increase flood level by more than 1 foot. So essentially your flood limits. Application rates, again, follow the UNH best management practices. Within our application, you'll see our application worksheet. That is an exact copy from the UNH BMP. These regulated application rates can be equal to or much smaller than cow manure application rates. Typically, some farmers will come in every year and lay down 15 tons of the acre of a composted manure every year. With our material, we're actually being regulated, and we're going to be decreasing our application rate as we go year to year, because we don't need adding in any more material. Records will be kept throughout the application process, delivery details, stockpile periods, what we were applying exactly that day, what equipment is on site, the whole nine as for what we are doing with our management plan. All fields will be flagged to ensure compliance setbacks are met during spreading. As you saw on the maps, in the fields there's not really any setbacks, but we still come in and make sure that those setbacks are measured with a GPS device or digital rangefinder or a wheel measure stick. One or the other, we're getting an exact number. We always go a little bit beyond that setback number just to ensure safety. And project management will be on site at time of application, managing the work that's going on. So our goals and conclusions are to improve crop production and build the soil quality of this site. Get the farmer so that he can grow a valuable crop for his cows and not have to dump a boatload of money into the field. Recycle a valuable fertilizer, creating a sustainable management program. Whether than keeping this material out of the landfill, it is a safe material to land apply per the regulations in the state, so we're going to recycle that and use it as a valuable fertilizer for this farmer. Work with the farmer and the community to ensure that these rules and regulations are met. We're all here to work together and make sure that what we're doing on site is completely following the rules, and as well, if there's any issues with the community, we'd like to address them and educate you about what exactly we're doing that year. And then as well, offer education to the community again about our company and the programs that we manage. And thank you, and I'm going to turn this now back over to Judy Houston to manage our questions and answer period.
Thanks, Anthony. Are there any questions? Open it up for public. Yes, sir. If you could please state your name first, please.
Rock Wilson, I'm a selectman here. I got a couple of questions. First of all, who pays for this?
We pay for the program itself. So
How much on average would it cost to do this 18.6 acres, and how many years do you do this on this site?
the permit that we will be receiving is a 5-year permit. What it's costing us to manage the program, we are getting paid by the facility, obviously, to take the material. And so what we're doing is we're paying for the trucking, we're paying for the management, we're paying for the permit fee, we're paying for the testing, and at the end of it, we have a very, very small margin that we can have at the end of that.
So I guess in the end, wouldn't it be cheaper to pay for him to truck his cow manure to the site?
No, it's costing him.
He's in Walpole though.
That's right.
I mean, I understand what you're doing with it. You're trying to do something good with this. However, don't you think there's like bigger sites or property that are better on? 18.6 acres seems like a pretty minimal site.
For us, working with Larry Britton, this was the first site that he chose for us. This was the hardest site for him to get material fertilizer to the site. So this was kind of our first introduction to working with him. We are looking in the future to be working with him in other fields.
In Alstead?
Walpole.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Your name, please?
And Cartwright, Alstead. Your company's from Maine? That's the first question.
We are headquarters in
Your
Maine.
headquarters in Maine, but the biosolids are coming out of Nashua, correct? That's what I understood. And the wastewater treatment facility is in
Saco Road.
Okay. Could you explain why the aerobic and anaerobic usage for preparing the product? And is there, what are initially in the product before the process is completed? Like, are we talking about metals from, or waste from, that are manufacturing waste from businesses? Are we talking about just sewage waste from the city? Could you explain that?
I can answer some of that for you. The wastewater treatment facility in Nashua, it does collect sewage, commercial, residential, manufacturing in Nashua. And there is a pre-treatment metals program at the facility itself. I think Mike might be able to expand on that some more if you'd like some more details. They are regulated as far as what their discharge is, as far as their fluid discharge, their wastewater discharge. And after the anaerobic processes, there is a solid material, and that's the product that is being used for biosolids. They will augment it, I believe you mentioned on site, to get the pH adjusted, but all the pathogen and treatment is done even prior to facilitating that material off site.
Okay, now what metals are and how are they dealt with, so we know that there's not heavy metals?
There are, each city, particularly cities the size of Nashville, have what is called industrial pretreatment. An industrial discharge to the system is given a permit by the city of Nashville, which allots them certain discharge requirements. So they will limit the amount of metals or other contaminants that will be discharged to their treatment. They do that for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is so they can land apply the biosolids. The other reason is that a wastewater treatment plant is basically a biological reactor. So if you allow too many toxins to your plant, you kill the plant, they no longer have treatment, and then the treatment plant will violate its discharge from EPA. So there is regulation of the industry itself discharging from treatment. Then, part of our Department of Environmental Services program, Anthony talked about sludge quality certification. We require